Solar Freaking Roadways! What? Solar Freaking Roadways! What? So, I'm riding on some roadways, and they're not solar, they're bitumen. And I know it was on the internet ages ago, and Skeptic's Guide covered it, but my friends keep posting this on Facebook, this stuff about solar freaking roadways, and the idea to me is just utterly ridiculous. I'm not sure if they were legit about what they were claiming to be able to think they could maybe someday do, but it is just such a stupid idea. I mean, maybe not from collecting solar power, like energy from the sun on roadways, but using photovoltaics is just dim. Because look at it, I'm at midday, look at how much of the road is covered with shade, right? So there's all these bits of road, and this is the middle of the day. This is the ideal time for a solar panel that's facing straight upwards to be getting sunlight. So this patch would be here, except for the bits with cars passing over it, of course. But you're going to have all of these patches with shade on it throughout most of the day. Particularly, I mean, this is a fairly small village, not very many high buildings, and it's the middle of the day, but you can imagine as soon as it gets to 2 or 3 o'clock, it's going to be hitting those trees, and there's going to be shade being cast on most of the road. And that's the first point about the ridiculousness of it, of the efficiency of those solar panels. They're going to be sitting on the ground, which is not where we put solar panels at the moment. Where do we put solar panels at the moment? Up off the ground, so they don't get covered in crap. Because this road surface, although when it's laid is black, look at how much crap is on it. There's little droppy bits of paint that have come off the back of a truck. There's bits of rubber. You can see a little tire mark there. Every time I accelerate or decelerate, I'm leaving these tiny, minuscule little amounts of rubber from my tires on the road. All of which is going to build up and be on top of these photovoltaics. So you know, that and the mud, you're going to have to, because the biggest drop-off in efficiency of solar panels is when they get dirty. That's my understanding. I may be wrong on that. Maybe but you're going to have these solar panels here, and then as a result, I mean, and this is the thing, I've got a bunch of problems with this idea of these solar freaking roadways, and many of them can be overcome. Sure, you could send teams out washing them and cleaning them all the time, but every solution that would fix most of my objections requires a lot of energy. And so one thing that needs to be remembered here is, look at how dirty this road is here. Look at all that crap. So the efficiency is a huge problem. Look at this, middle of the day, and you get large chunks of the road are covered with shade. Even worse in big cities, you know, anywhere with skyscrapers. The best places for it are going to be the places that are least travelled roads, and therefore the furthest out for you investing your money in these roadways, further from where you're using the power, and furthest from where you're going to be able to get cleaning teams to continually scrub the build-up of crap off the solar panels. So they're not a very efficient thing. Except if you want to fix all these problems, it's a lot of cleaning, it's a lot of replacement of modules, which is a lot of energy. And if your whole point is that we're putting energy back into the power grid, look, more dirty road, then solutions that require energy are going to be cancelling out any benefit you get. The next concern is safety. Like, I don't know what kind of plexiglass, toughened, whatever they plan on using this stuff for, but anything that's transparent needs to have a rough surface. It needs to be a sort of porous, rough surface. And the design that they had there looked like some sort of, I don't know if it was tempered glass or some sort of perspex, but it looked like it was these rivers with these raised nodules of hashed up glass for your grip to be on. Now that is not a material I want to be turning and braking on, right? Because only the smooth bits are letting the light through, the rough bits are clouding it and letting less and less light through. So you've got this weird thing where the whole point of a road is that it gets you from point A to point B, but also See, I would not want to break that suddenly on solar freaking roadways. That's not what I want to be doing on solar freaking roadways. And so the more light you're letting through with this hashed up, more grippable areas of your glass is going to be exactly the area that's getting less panel. So you've got this trade-off immediately between this thing that's meant to do two things, and that's be a road and be a solar panel. You've got a trade-off with the more roady it is, the less solar panel-y it is, and the more efficient it is as a solar panel, the worse it is at being a road. So you've got this stuff that I would not want to turn and break on that's glass. Fine, done. The next challenge is this modular design, this series of flat-topped hexagon bricks that all interlink. First challenge with that is, look at this road. I don't know if you can see it through that because this is a fisheye lens. Road surface is curved, right? It's curved across its sort of a cross section of it would be curved. There's a camber to the road, which is there to push water into the gutters. And it's also curved when you go around corners. Nice bike. The guy was riding a TDM too. Woo! It had stickers all over it. Mine's got stickers all over it too. So it's got turns and it's got a curved surface. So that immediately means that your modular design for anything that's not square is going to be curved, made out of flat sections. So the edges of these things, as you go round a turn, say particularly, I mean, maybe we'll talk about this up when it gets to a windy bit, but here on these curves, and also look at this road surface, oh, what is that? That is awesome. All of these turns, and these aren't even turns with dips or any sort of much elevation change in them, is going to be this dugunk as you go around it, meaning that at each dugunk you're going to be losing traction. So you're riding across glass, and right in the middle of a turn, which is arguably, not really arguably, where you want your most traction. So around this, for example, as I can open up and drop a side down, give it a bit more oomph, is you're going to have this as I'm losing traction as I get to the edge and the joint in each of these hexagonal bricks. Also, the hexagons appeared to be square-sided. So a square-sided thing, as you go, say, over a rise or as you go to the outer camber, you're going to have these wedges where the bottoms are meeting but the tops are pulling themselves apart, which is going to be stuff that fills up with shit and gunk, that cyclists are going to get their tyres stuck in, they're going to be the gunk as you go over the top of that rise, that is going to be the bit where you're losing that traction. And is also going to be a track for which you can, like a fulcrum, where you can get force into. So as you can maybe be able to see by the busted looking nature of my motorkaki at the moment, I dropped it the other day. So you can imagine a motorcyclist dropping it and, say, on this wing mirror here, where that's missing that bit, jamming into one of those fulcrums and flipping and pulling a brick out, right? Which is not that far-fetched, because a lot of the bits of a lot of the chunks missing from the road are bits where cars have crashed and it's dug up a chunk, just a little chunk, and then that chunk has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. The thing is, on bitumen roads, that happens by degrees. That happens relatively slowly. It's a problem that you're going to have these fulcrums and these points at which that modular design is going to be weaker, and unless it's made with bloody adamantium, that's, it doesn't matter how strong the metal is, it's going to still have a lot to do with the size of those linkages, and there is always going to be a certain amount of force that can cut through it and can break those linkages. And I mean, could you imagine a situation where you're driving along, what is it, those things look like they're about a meter across, maybe a bit less than a meter across. Imagine driving along and one of those chunks has ripped up. Sure, you might smash into it, or maybe somebody's like wheeled it off, to the side of the road. But now you have a drop in the road where that whole chunk with all its circuitry and its batteries and its solar panels and glass and adamantium fits. It's going to be this square-sided pothole that's what, 10-15 centimeters deep. I couldn't quite see on the photo in the video, but you're now going to have this epic pothole. And each of the hexagons around it that have already been probably taking a battering are now 1/6 less secured, because they have on one side a bit missing, and that's the direction they're taking from all the force. So once you lost one panel, you're very quickly going to lose other panels. So what do you need to do to deal with this? You need teams that are going to be out on the road all day long replacing these panels. The only way to fix the camber problem that I was talking about before is that if the panels all aren't identical, so you've got different curved ones, you've got concave, you've got convex, you've got ones of other shapes that are just subtly, almost imperceptibly different, but then that ruins the whole point of having a modular design, because the whole point of having a modular design is that any part can be replaced with almost any other part. Like all of the panels are identical. So I'm hearing instruction from my woman. Oh, little brab. It's just such a ridiculous idea that you could make roadways solar when they would be both inefficient, worse at being a road, hugely expensive. Not even talking about all of the malfunctions that could happen if the lights go wrong. Like, could you imagine the mayhem on a road like this if suddenly it just went and reconfigured to 4 lanes, or suddenly the lane markings disappeared? With drivers in countries like this, it would just be bedlam, right? And that's on a straight road. Imagine getting to a 4-way intersection, 3 lanes in either direction, and suddenly all of the lane markings just disappear, and then people don't know where the stop lines are. It's such a preposterous idea, and I don't think many people have thought, is this plausible? It just seems like, oh my god, yeah, roads, why not? And haven't gone on to answer that question, why not, which is why not because logic. Oh, this guy is meandery. Probably hang back from him a little there. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say on the topic of solar roadways. I'm aware that the wind noise right now, without having yet installed a dead cat, will be deafening. So yeah, solar freaking roadways are a freaking crock.